Oye, viejo. Muy estudiante. That's basically the summary. Yeah. So Abraham is gonna sacrifice his son, and he's gonna talk to you about how love is connected to the willingness of Abraham to sacrifice his son.
Yeah, so I mean, a little, I guess, backstory on how we were able to make this together is the word love and free will. So I mean, I know that for most of us at least, especially in this country, freedom is something that it's I guess something that we are able to practice pretty much every day, right? And how we're able to make decisions according to how sometimes how we feel, sometimes things from the past, make us choose certain things. But for the most part, like we're able to just like make decisions of our own, especially once we are like 18 and up, which most of us are here, right? And it's I was listening to somebody say, love is a choice. You can say, oh no, it's not a choice. It's something that just happens when you feel butterflies in your stomach. All these feels. But in reality, is that really love or is that just an emotion? To real love, sometimes it says in the Bible, el amor lo soporta todo. And it goes on to other ones. Sorry, I'm blanking out in English. I can think of it in Spanish, but not in English. Um, so like if that's the case, and you're like, oh yeah, then that might be true. Maybe love it's a choice. Maybe on tough times, like whenever it's hard for us to love, we still do it anyways. Like I know that we probably all have stories that we're able to share probably about a time where it was hard for us to love, but we did it anyways, right? And that was the case with Abraham, sacrificing his son. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Just touching back on like the sacrifices, the hard choices that we have to make through love, and with Abraham, it was basically sacrificing his only son. Uh, that just shows that he was willing to make that choice. He was obviously. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we're like humans. We always had second thoughts and doubts. Like,
yeah,
why would we do this? Why would we do that? But at the end of the day, I feel like love is more like like Jesus was saying. It's more of an action, not feeling or emotion. Because feeling and emotions can always cloud our minds and our hearts and make the wrong choices. And but with Abraham, you can tell that his faith through God, loving God so much, was so strong that he was willing to make that sacrifices to give up his only son.
yeah. I mean, I guess if we put it in today's words, I guess if I can ask you, Abiel, what is something that maybe God had asked you to sacrifice that you were like, man, but I love this so much, God. Like, like I kind of don't want to let this go, but maybe, maybe I do now. I have to. You're asking me.
I think one thing I had to sacrifice was like my maybe overthinking stuff. I
Okay.
had to sacrifice that try that anxiety of what's gonna happen in the future. What am I gonna do?
Mm.
What am I like that burden of insecurity
Okay.
that to know, oh, how am I gonna, oh, what about school? If I'm gonna do this, how am I gonna do school? Well, if I gotta go to camp, how am I gonna finish this test?
Okay.
Or and that's I feel like something I had to like give up
Yeah.
And then, so, nada más para enfatizar en eso, um, that was clear to do it. Porque Dios sí sabe so hay veces donde nosotros vamos a sacrificar algo por amor. eh, Algo que se viene mucho a la mente y creo que solamente Chucho va a poder empatizar conmigo, ya que somos hombres casados.
Amen.
Hay muchas, hay muchas situaciones que donde ya estando en un matrimonio, tanto uno como el otro sacrifica parte de él mismo por el beneficio del otro o am, por amor, simplemente, no porque eh, quieres hacerla solo feliz o porque quieres estar bien con ella, sino es el amor que prometiste en el altar y el amor que te ha demostrado Dios durante toda tu vida, que es posible que nosotros tomemos la decisión de amarla todos los días como Dios toma la decisión de amarnos todos los días.
Sí, correcto. Así como Dios amó a la iglesia, se dio él por completo. Now I'm gonna ask you, Cheche. What is something that maybe you were holding dear to your heart, and God asked you like, hey, let me have that. That's a
I mean, for me, I would say the most that I had to let go was um, a lot of doubt in my life.
okay.
It's kind of the same circumstances as I guess. For me, it was I don't know. I guess it's from being a first generation children. You have that all that pressure to wanting to succeed
Mm-hmm.
in life,
Yep.
and so we having that pressure of like if I'm making the right choice, am I making the right career path? Am I making so it's always the second doubt, like you're thinking you're doing the right thing, when in reality you're not doing the right thing. So that was a hard thing because I was like wanted to make sure, like I wanted to make sure like I'm doing this, taking this path, and this is the path I want to take, and that was like mostly like I would have a tunnel vision. I would say
Mm.
I would just focus on that goal at the end of the finish line, but I wouldn't focus on the surrounding aspects of it. And from make me willing to make that choice of just having a tunnel vision, not realizing that I was affecting the people around me. So that was a hard thing to like give up because it's for me I feel like it's a natural thing to have doubt, to have second thoughts, to making just like it's just it's like we don't think of sometimes even it's like a small thing we don't think of praying to asking if this is the right step to take.
Yep.
We just we just say, oh, it's a small thing, it's not going to affect the way I do it or my thought, but at the end of the day it does. So that was just kind of a hard transition to making more of putting putting God first and letting God take control of my career path and my choices, my friend groups I was making. So that was the biggest thing I had to let go.
I mean, so for you guys that don't know, Cheche is like the youngest of his family members or the siblings. So he, I mean, right now he's saying he had pressure, right? You know, making sure that he was making the right decisions. Me, I'm the oldest of my siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like a big pressure on me because I was the first one to kind of, I guess, step into a lot of places that neither my mom or my dad had even stepped in,
Mm-hmm.
or nobody in general in our family, and it was very scary at times to do that, to take steps of faith and trust that God had a plan behind everything. But I mean, now that you're saying that, like, it makes me think maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a pressure that just guys, now we're here, just all guys, that we just kind of have in general because, I mean, if you think about it, since the beginning, God put I mean, not a command, but he just put como ¿cómo se diría?
Le dijo, pues le dio
Take care of the garden.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
But
Adam and
como
Eve.
una responsabilidad, pues.
Yeah.
A responsibility, yes. And so since the beginning, right?
Yeah, I felt that a little bit too. Though I'm the youngest, but I'm the only guy also in the family. Other than
Uh-huh.
my dad, mommy. That's something that makes me think of. And I need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, las mujeres bien relax. Nah, no se crean. Saludos a mi esposa. No, pero bueno, okay, so like, for me, just a quick little story. Um, and this is just kind of going back to Isaac and what he had
Mhm.
to do, or what he thought he had to do. He had to basically just say like, "Hey, God, like, I love you, and I want to do this because I love you." Right? There's people, and I mean, there's a lot more details that can go behind this story. People that look at this story as kind of cruel or something that makes no sense, right? But we know that God was just testing the faith of Abraham, the love that he really had for God, and he still went ahead, did it, and I mean, if you kind of read his whole story now, you can see how blessed he was. He was gonna have descendants that he was not even gonna be able to count because he was way too many stars in the sky and the sand. So my story goes like this. My dad, long time ago when we were kids. I mean, I have my siblings. He was like, "Hey, there's this really popular soccer team in Mexico, and especially in Mexico City, El America. Nah, just kidding." And they're like, "Hey, they're gonna be training in their facilities, and they're gonna open it up. I think it was like El Día de los Niños. They celebrate that over there in Mexico, right?" And he's like, "Hey, I want to take y'all, and we're gonna have fun." And I think that same day we didn't have school because of that or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go, and afterwards we're gonna go eat to like a burger place or whatever." And we were all so excited. We ended up going. We saw them practicing, and they were like,
Signing autographs.
yeah, signing jerseys or pictures or whatever. And then okay, well, it's time to go eat. So we went to go eat, and everything was so like it was the best thing, like the best day ever for us, right? We were so excited. We had seen some of the players that we were like seeing on TV every day, or not every day, but every week. We finished eating, and then my dad's like, "Okay, well, it's time to go home." And we didn't have a car, so we were just in public transportation. And then my dad's like, "Oh, I think I miscalculated, and we don't have enough to go back home." And it was kind of far, so we're like, "Okay, so are we gonna have to walk?" And he's like, "No, let me figure it out." And we just stood there, like on the street, like on the bus stop, waiting for him to come up with something. And some time passed by, and then he kind of, I guess, came up with an idea. He had like bus passes that he had bought himself, like to go to work every day. And then he started offering to people. Eventually, people bought them, and we were able to go back home in the public transportation. And in that moment, like, it didn't click, in my heart or my mind. But after some time, when I grew up and I understood what had happened, I was like, man, he really loves us. That he was able to do all of that just for us to have one like amazing day doing like some of our favorite things. And for him to be able to, I guess, sacrifice some of the things that he had in order for him to take care of us, like, he did that. And so this story, that Abraham, kind of makes a decision, like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna make this sacrifice, but it's not because, because of benefits. It's not because I'm gonna gain something from this, or because it's like a transactional thing. He just literally did it out of love. And how crazy is it that that God did the same for us. Where Jesus, when God sent His only Son, Jesus, to die for us. You kind of think about it, and you're like, man, that's wonderful. That's amazing. So
Yeah, just kind of talking about when God sent his son to sacrifice for our sins, and it's just want to touch about like the love that he had to willing to sacrifice for all of our sins. And sometimes we always think of, like in the beginning you said, love is not a choice. No,
love is
it's
a
a choice.
choice.
Sorry, love is a choice. Um, but like for example, your dad did that for the bus passes out of love because he loves his children. He wanted you all to have a really good time, even though it's gonna take some sacrifices for him. I don't know if he had to walk those days that he had those bus passes.
Yeah.
So that's something that it's a heart touching moment, and we can relate that to the same way how God gave His Son. And I just want to touch that just it comes all down to like Abraham. It was like it's all down to obedience at the end of the day. You're willing to do the things that God says you to do. That's is motivated by love and gratitude, and then it's by and by obedience. It's also sometimes we'll have like something. Sometimes God will tell us to do something, and you're like, I don't feel like I don't think that's I don't want to do that. I don't like fear, like I don't have enough money to do this, but He told me to sacrifice my money for that. So it's just at the end of the day, sometimes we don't think about it, but once we make the right choices, God will. It's not always, but He will bless us some way somehow for willing us to be obedient with Him. And I just want to touch about a story I was that I shared with the team in our meeting yesterday. That I never really shared the story before, but it was one time I just came out of an exam, right? And some exams they'll show you the score, or sometimes they don't. And that day I was able to see the score, and then I got a really good grade. And I was like, the thing I tend to do to like award myself is to go grab one like a favorite meal of mine, so like a reward for doing for studying hard and getting a good grade. So that day I saw good grades. I decided to go to this restaurant that I really enjoyed. It's a Hawaiian food. And while I was going to the restaurant, I saw a guy probably my same age. I don't know, but he was wearing rundown clothes. He was walking around, washing windows to get some change to go back home to get money for oddly enough to get money for a bus ticket to go back home. And I told him like he offered to wash my window. I was like, unfortunately, I don't have cash. And I just didn't think about it. But when I was ordering my food, I was like, from my heart, I felt giving him a meal, buying him a meal. So I also bought him a meal, and I walked out and handed the plate of food to him. And he started kind of crying because he was saying that that day was his birthday, and he was praying to God he was essentially saying like, show me that you still love me. And he was praying to. He said no, his family. He hasn't no contact with his family. And so that day, I sat there and I prayed for him. And it just shows that sometimes by just having that right heart, right mindset that you have, God will talk you to the Holy Spirit to make those right choices. Maybe that choice that I made, I could have easily said no. I don't want to give him the food because
Yep.
that could have been my next meal for the next day, or just anything, something small that I would wanted to purchase. But just making that choice willing, I was able to bless someone's day. I was able to reassure someone that there's someone out there, a God that loves them.
Yep.
There's the people that are still out there that loves.
Yeah, and like you were saying, I mean, that they came out of you, it was because, like we were sharing, the love that God had already poured inside of you, right? That makes you take those decisions. And people might say, oh, or like you say right now, oh, I could have bought myself something else or whatever, but you've made that willingly, out of your heart to just buy him something that, I mean, I want to say that even, I guess, whatever you could have bought with that wouldn't have blessed you the same as that did, in that moment of just seeing him, kind of, I guess, just being so blessed for that meal you bought him.
Ya, y poniéndolo en perspectiva, esa vez que tú bendeciste a esa persona, eh, bendició tu corazón también. Te bendició a ti por el haber oído la voz de Dios y haber tomado acción. Y es ese mismo libre albedrío que te guió a tomar esta decisión, fue el mismo libre albedrío que le dio a Abraham tomar la decisión de hacerle caso a Dios, ¿no? En ese, cuando le pidió que sacrificara a su hijo. Y si nosotros lo ponemos en perspectiva, no tengo hijos, pero a mí se me haría una idea muy loca el que Dios me estuviera pidiendo algo así. El nosotros tomar la decisión de comprarle comida a una persona es algo pequeño comparado con qué tan grande, qué tanta fe, qué tanta responsabilidad debía de tener Abraham para que aquello por lo que tanto oró, aquello por lo que tanto esperó y fue la promesa de Dios, literalmente es lo que más amaba en la tierra, él decidió amar más a Dios y tomar la decisión correcta de hacerle caso a Dios, de obedecer a Dios. Y es el libre albedrío que nos permite hacer eso. Yo no creo que tal vez Dios te hubiera castigado, Cheche, si no hubieras tomado esa acción.
No, claro que no.
Pero es el Espíritu Santo que hay dentro de ti. Tú decías, sentí en mi corazón el hacerlo. Y es el Espíritu Santo hablando dentro de nosotros. Vamos a ir a un pequeño corte musical y volvemos con más aquí. Tenemos más para compartir. No le cambien, quédense aquí con nosotros y ahorita volvemos enseguida.
I wanna be like David, dancing in the streets. I wanna be like Peter, stepping out into the water. I wanna be like Moses, till your face is all I see. Sing that again. I wanna be like Mary, pouring oil down on your feet. I wanna be like David, dancing in the streets. I wanna be like Peter, stepping out onto the water. desire of our hearts. Hearts. Oh yes, can you feel the Spirit of God moving in the room right now? Oh, just come and move right now, Holy Spirit. You're the desire. We say, there's only one thing I desire. There's only one thing that I seek. Just to dwell with you forever. Build an altar at your feet. To be in oneness with your Spirit. To be in oneness with your heart. Just to dwell with you forever is the anthem of my heart. There's only one thing I desire. There's only one thing that I seek. Just to dwell with you forever. Build an altar at your feet. To be in oneness with your Spirit. To be in oneness with your heart. Just to dwell with you forever is the anthem of my heart.
Welcome back. I hope y'all were able to reset and be ready for the rest of this program. We're gonna continue talking about free will.
Yeah, Naviel got inspired. He also has a story for us.
Yeah, talking about like your story, you mentioned that you didn't know this person, right? You was
No.
so a complete stranger, and that reminds me of how one time I went to this event in Mexico with my cousins, and it was like a sort of camp thing, and as we were playing and all this stuff, I got injured, my knee again. I messed up, so I was like, man, it hurts, and all this stuff. And they came up and they started attending me. Me atendieron like if I was one of them. And they started caring for me. And they started like putting bandages on. And I remember that they sent me to the cabin to rest. And they brought me food. And they brought me drinks. And they brought me everything that I needed. And when I was about to go out, según yo, I felt better, and I was gonna walk to the cafeteria to get some lunch, and this guy was like, "Hey, I'll go for you." And I'm like, "No, but I don't want to bother." He's like, "No, it's fine, I'll go. You stay." And then he went, and he got me the food and got me the water, and it impacted me so much, cause like they didn't know who I was. I was new. I was a complete stranger, and it impacted me that the love of God and how Jesus says to love your neighbor as yourself. You know, they cared for me like if they were caring for themselves. You know, if you're hungry, you're not gonna you see someone who's hungry and you're gonna feed them. You should feed yourself. If it's cold, you put on a sweater. And if you see someone that's cold, well, you give them a sweater. And that just impacted my life a lot. And how no one forced them to do anything. And just by willingly, they came up and helped me. Just showing me a different kind of love that I've really never seen before.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it just shows that just having that. I just want to touch. It's just having that right heart, the right mindset. It shows the love that you really have for someone. And I just want to touch a little bit. Something that came up to my mind just now. I had a few friends of like they always ask me. 'Cause the school that I go to is a very Muslim dominated school.
Mhm.
Go to UTD. uh,
Expulsing.
nah. But I had a. It was a. I'll consider him a friend now, but at first it was a classmate that we were worked on the same project. Uh, he he touched about a little bit about my religion. He just he just had a question about it, and he asked like, how do you know you're making the right choice? How do you know you're choosing correctly? And I just briefly told him it's not about like I said it's having the right mindset, the love for God, God having the right heart that you have, it will lead you to make the right decision you'll make, because you're having that intimacy moment with God. God is the one's feeling you, guiding you spiritually, making the right decisions. But once you let the flesh decide, you let the sin bent your faith, that's when it will lead you to make the wrong step and lead you away from God. And I just want to briefly touch that, because for him it was just because he said like I make the I feel like I'm a good person. I make right decisions. I don't seek for any guidance. I know what's wrong and what's right. And at the end of the day, yeah, that's right. We all, some people have good morals, some people don't. But at the end of the day, it's just sometimes you can do the right thing, but you feel empty in the inside. But once you have that love for God, the intimacy moment with God, doing the right things, it'll fulfill your, like, you'll feel you're good by yourself, and then at the end of the day, you will bless someone around there. Like I did, people around him care for him. He felt the love from others, and that touched his heart.
Yeah. So if you think about, I guess, the state of the world today, or even if we just shrink it down to just this one country, um, how people make their decisions today, they think that they do them willingly and freely, but in reality, sometimes they're bonded to certain things that cause them to make certain mistakes. Then they end up regretting, and then they try to blame God for it, or just they just simply live life however they want to, however they think it's right. I mean, there is so many interpretations of the world, or the word love, that there is around the world right now. Um, I know that right now, like there's just big an event that just happened about a murder, um, and man, everywhere in social media, you go and check, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's deserving of that," or just throwing hate or whatever. Um, and I don't want to get in too much into that, because it's a very delicate topic. But um, just how the world just kind of makes their decisions, and they're like, "Oh, I'm right on this decision I'm making. I'm doing the correct decision." Um, but I think that in the Bible, if you just meditate on,
On the word of God.
yeah, and especially the way Jesus lived here on earth, it's just so shocking of sometimes the decisions he makes. That you're like, nobody would have ever done that. Nobody would have healed a woman that is sick, and um, you know to her last penny she spent. Nobody would have gone to that um, guy that has thousands of demons inside of him, and cast them out. Nobody would have picked 12 men that, in a way, they are walking crooked. Only love does that, But in order for him to, I guess, reflect that, he had to do it himself. And now that we have the decision to, follow such a great example, sometimes some of the decisions that we make are not gonna make sense to other people. They're gonna be like, wait, like, like the typical ones that they always say, "Oh, well, how come you cannot smoke? You cannot drink? You cannot go to parties?" Or, I mean, yeah, we can party, right? Or like clubbing or whatever, like wild parties, I guess. You cannot like cuss. So many things. They make up a list of things that and they're like, "You're crazy for, believing in this book and this and that." And, in reality, they don't understand the love that God had for us. That's why we make those decisions. We don't make him, like I said before, we don't make him based off of because it's a trading system. Oh boy, if I behave, then God's gonna bless me. I mean, yes, he does regardless, right? Just by us waking up every day, so undeserving sometimes. we're able to breathe again, see our families, or have a roof over our heads. It's just more than enough to know that He loves us, regardless of the decisions we take. So, you know, um, my other story, real quick. I have another story. So I guess if you can grab that manly thing, like I've never, uh, I don't know why, but I just never, to a certain extent, right? Like I wouldn't let other people pay for my meals or pay for my things. Like I was always like, no, like I work, I'm able to do this, so like I'm paying for my meals, I'm paying for my clothes, paying for my things in general. One day I remember that we went to youth camp because, well, it was a little bit before youth camp, but we went a bit before the time came so we could prep for youth camp. And we slept through the night, and we were coming back home the next morning. We were hungry, me and a group of guys, and we decided to stop by to get some food. We got food and we sat down at the table, and then we started praying for our food. We ate, and we're like, okay, well, we're waiting for the tab now. And the waitress, she comes and she's like, oh, don't worry about the tab. Somebody already paid for it. And that shook me like a lot, because, like I said, I have never, let anybody pay for it, and I also had never expected to have somebody pay for especially a meal. So whenever she said that, I was just in shock. I didn't know how to react or how to be thankful like this. I was just like, there's no way somebody paid for my meal, especially everybody's meal. I mean, we were not a big group, but it was, more than enough um, to be at least triple digits. So I was like, why would somebody do that? Like, I don't understand. And we try to ask the waitress, like, hey, like, who was it? Can you tell us? And she's like, no. But the only thing I can tell you is that she saw y'all praying, and that blessed her. And so there, she took the decision to pay for you. And whenever I heard that, I was like, man, that shook me even more. Because I was like, God, like, I mean, I don't know how else to say thank you to whoever, because I can't see them. I don't know who they are. But imagine, like, if in those little things, I guess, and me personally, like, if that, like, gives me, like, I guess a certain, I don't know,
Feeling.
like, yeah, well, it's just like a shock, like, now imagine, what Jesus did in the cross for us. It's just, he came to be here just like any single one of us human, and he went through, I guess, fear, maybe, um, just having, well, I know he had temptations that he had to overcome, living a life that was just like perfect, righteous, and still be able to look to the side, and know that there's like a thief hanging in the cross, which is fully deserving, and he still says, "Hey, I also died for you." That's crazy to think, right? I don't know how you'll feel about, I guess just thinking.
What about it, he even asked God, que pase esta copa de ti, like, if there's another way we can save people, let's do it that way instead of going through this. But I mean, what's your goal? Well, let's do it.
Yes, and I'll go through it.
All that, the passion of Christ puts in a way, like shocking. When you read it, it's more than what we can imagine. More pain, more suffering than we can imagine. And to do it for someone who is completely like off the rails. For example, like Barabbas, like everybody chose him to be free because he was like a killer and a thief. I don't know.
that's a pretty good example actually. Now that you say that, of how the people choose, their free will, I guess if you could say. What we would choose actually compared to what Jesus chose. He chose to take his place instead. So
Yeah, it's just powerful. I think it just really shows God's love that He had for us, and it's as much as that we try to mimic that love. But I mean, from my experience, I'm not perfect. I always never made the right choices in my life. But it just shows that even when we fall down, we're bent over. If we're willing to have that moment with God, even though when we're on the lowest, that just shows that we also the love that He has for us. And I just want to touch that. A lot of people, we, I feel like we've reached God as we're willing to choose God when we're in our lowest. But once we receive the blessings that that God given us at the very top of our life, we sometimes forget where we come from, and we really choose not to pursue God the way they were pursuing God when we were on the lowest. And that sometimes that will help. Those making those choices will deviate our path from God, and then it just shows that even on the time where God knew He was being crucified, He still had so much love for us that He was willing to sacrifice Himself for us to be free from our sins.
There's no selfishness whatsoever, and us humans, we're like very selfish, greedy. We don't want people to get food from our plate.
Sounds like from experience. Yeah, I mean,
And yeah, it's just that selfishness doesn't exist when it comes to when God shows us stuff.
Y para abundar un poquito más en todo lo que acabamos de compartir, antes de que se nos acabe el tiempo, yo tenía una pequeña historia también que contar. Cuando estaba más pequeño, no tenía poquitos años, por así decirlo, mi relación con mi papá no era, por así decirlo, la mejor. Y recuerdo que una de las cosas que siempre batallaba yo más era de que él quería que le ayudáramos, y haz de cuenta, pues yo no quería, ¿va? Yo quería estar viendo la tele o quería andar jugando. Y cuando me veía que iba forzosamente a hacerlo, me decía no quiero que me ayudes si no quieres. Y eso es algo que por mucho tiempo no entendí, que él decía, que él quería que naciera de mi corazón. Ahora que lo meditaba y que planeábamos el programa, habló Dios mucho en mi vida, cómo se refleja eso en lo que Dios pide de nosotros. Dios no necesita nada de nosotros. Dios no necesita a los humanos, no necesita que los cojamos. Nosotros dependemos de Él. Nosotros somos los que necesitamos a Él. Y Dios, con tanto amor, nos dio la oportunidad de elegirlo. Y siento que es algo que no se puede comprender en qué tanto nos amó. En mi Padre terrenal, yo siento que me amó tanto por enseñarme esa gran lección, por enseñarme el querer hacerlo, el hacerlo por amor, you know? Y concuerda tanto con lo que Dios requiere de nosotros. Y decían por ahí, cuando te das cuenta de qué tan grande fue el sacrificio que Jesús hizo en la cruz por nosotros, empiezas a ver las cosas totalmente diferentes. De igual manera que nosotros tomamos la decisión de amarle a Él todos los días, incluso cuando no nos está yendo bien, o cuando no podemos agarrar un mío porque no sacamos buenos grados, o cuando vemos diferentes circunstancias circunstancias que pasan en el mundo y en veces nos quedamos pensando, ¿dónde está Dios en todo esto? Pero Dios nos da el libre albedrío de confiar en Él todos los días. Y es una decisión que tomamos, y es una decisión que Él tomó, porque muy fácil hubiera sido para un Dios creador el, el decir, ok, no, vamos a empezar de nuevo, vamos a empezar una nueva humanidad, una nueva creación y ya esta humanidad se queda atrás. Pero nos amó tanto que sacrificó a su hijo, como dice Juan 3:16. Porque Dios nos amó tanto que mandó y sacrificó a su hijo unigénito para que nosotros tuviéramos una oportunidad de ser redimidos. So, de todo lo que acabamos de compartir, de todo lo que las experiencias que nos han pasado y que hemos hecho, las decisiones que hemos tomado, tal vez se quedaron un poco confundidos de qué realmente tiene que ver todo esto con el libre albedrío, y es simplemente el mensaje que queremos compartir, que Dios ha puesto en nuestro corazón, es de que el libre albedrío fue hecho por amor. Dios nos dio la oportunidad de elegirlo a Él simplemente por amor. No, como decía Chucho, me encanta de que una ilustración donde está Dios dándole un regalo a una niña, y muchas veces nosotros nos concentramos más en el regalo que quién te está dando el regalo. Son las decisiones que tomamos, tal vez no las hacemos porque venga algo a cambio, porque venga un regalo, porque venga un reward, sino porque sabemos que Dios nos ha amado tanto y lo único que podemos hacer es entregarle nuestro corazón y amarle de la misma manera. Y es la versión buena de cómo usar nuestro libre albedrío, ¿no?
Yeah, a verse I have just really quick to share was Galatians 5:13, and it says, "You, my brothers and sisters, work hard to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge in the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love."
Amen.
Yeah, just we have the choice to love God freely with our freedom. You know, true freedom isn't about serving ourselves. It's about being free to love God and love people. Just like,
With that, our program ends, but hope everyone learned something today. Hope we were to touch y'all's hearts, whoever's listening to us or watching us. Hope we were to touch y'all's heart and give you a way of thinking what free will is. And other than that, just a quick reminder: we have youth service today at 7:30. We still have 30 minutes to make it to service, to get ready for service. Hopefully, we can see you there. Yeah, thank you so much for staying in tune with us, listening to us, and yeah, I hope everyone have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.
'Cause praise is the waters that my enemies drown.